I still cannot believe that this is a video I am actually making. I don't even have fucking nails on. Hi, Alexi here. Welcome to my channel where I scream into the void about fandom and continue to be disappointed every day. So, you know, I was trying to go to my friend's orchestra concert last night, and I had a nice dinner beforehand, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll open up the internet and see what's happening. And you know what I see? You know what I see a screenshot on Threads of? Is this headline that I'm going to read to you now and have on the screen from Book Brunch News. 7-figure auction for former fanfic at LBF. An adaptation of All the Young Dudes has taken publishers by storm. And, you know, the thing is, the article was behind a paywall, and not that I would ever condone using a paywall scrubber, but if I did do that, allegedly, in a mythical universe, and multiple ones didn't work, allegedly, in a mythical universe, then I would have to pay £3 to read this article. I paid £3 to read this article, and it is two paragraphs and 2 sentences long. I'm not sure of the legality of me reading that to you, but maybe this counts as a transformative work. Quote, one of the biggest auctions taking place this week at London Book Fair is for Wolf Boy, a novel represented by Veronique Baxter of David Hyman Associates. Pictured, that's who's in the picture. The book is an adaptation of All the Young Dudes by Miss King Bean 89, a Harry Potter fanfic about the Marauders' time at Hogwarts. Featuring a love story between Sirius Black and Remus Lupin, the story, which is 528,969 words long, has a developed online following, with almost 20 million hits on fanwork website Archive of Our Own. Rumors were flying this week about the novel, and the figure of £2.5 million has been bandied around. What in the... bandied? Is this a British thing? One rumor said that the auction had reached that amount, while another said that £2.5 million preempt had been rejected. Reactions were mixed. One agent felt that the novel was going to get a better reaction than Alchemized by Senlin Yu, a retelling of the author's Draco Malfoy / Hermione Granger fanfic Manacled. The content in All the Young Dudes is less controversial, and Wolf Boy is said to be further removed from the source text. It is also vastly more popular with fans, with over double the amount of hits on AO3. It is the most viewed Harry Potter fanfic on the website. Another agent felt that the huge amounts of money publishers were willing to put behind the novel might have been better spread between a number of different authors. So there's a few reasons why all of this is a big deal, which I do mean in a derogatory sense. First of all the Young Dudes, which, can I just say, the Wolf Boy? That's what you're fucking going with? Y'all can't title shit. These fucking former fanfic authors cannot First of all, it's the first gay fic to get traditionally published in the era of Hermione that we know of. And when I say the era of Hermione, what I'm referring to is the fact that last year, 3 books that were formerly Draco x Hermione fanfiction were published. The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto, and Alchemized by Senlin Yu. And we know that these books used to be Hermione fic because, oh my god, both the publishers and the authors would not shut up about it. But these fics-turned books were aggressively straight, and I'd argue that there are moments in Rose in Chains that actually veer towards homophobia, and All the Young Dudes is not straight. So the second reason that this is a big deal is that it's Marauders fanfiction. Marauders refers to the era that Harry's parents were at Hogwarts, generally following his father, James Potter's friend group. This includes future traitor and Ratman, but not in a sexy way, Peter Pettigrew, Harry's future godfather, and also future wrongfully accused of murder genre podcast fodder Sirius Black, and werewolf who is also a very good boy and maybe should have joined a teachers union, Remus Lupin. There isn't much in the Harry Potter canon, which is like original Harry Potter books, about these characters, which actually gives Marauders fanfiction authors a lot of freedom on how they write and develop these characters. Uncolourly has a whole video about that. And All the Young Dudes, which follows Remus Lupin and Sirius Black's often tragic gay relationship, really influenced how people write these characters in their own fanfiction. Before All the Young Dudes, Remus in particular was written to be very like ooh sweater paws soft boy. Miss King Bean 89 reimagined Remus as a care home kid. A lot of the fic takes place in the 1970s and 80s and draws heavily on A, the music of the time, and B, this kind of like gritty working class punk background to characterize Remus. But anyways, this characterization was actually pretty revolutionary at the time because it was very different than what other people had been writing and what had become fanon, so basically what was largely accepted in fan spaces. So also Miss King Bean 89 also grew up in South London from a working class background, and there were some pretty specific place names and cultural references that made the characters feel even more fleshed out because of that, in my opinion. Yes, I've read it. Also, from what I've noticed, the Marauders fandom tends to draw more queer readership. I think this is partially because it has to deal with the Harry Potter canon a bit less than popular ships like Draco x Harry, Drarry. All the Young Dudes was written in 2017 through 2018, but really blew up over lockdown, so 2020. And actually a lot of people were finding it because other people were talking about it on TikTok and how it emotionally devastated them. In an interview with Garbage Day on Substack, she wrote, "It was overwhelming and obviously really funny. At first I thought, oh, this is a cool, like, niche thing. And memes were all pretty cute. And it was for a while. It was really just 15-year-olds sobbing and crying. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that they were filming themselves crying. Or that, that they've gotten themselves worked up over my story. So yeah, it was really weird. And then it kept getting bigger and bigger. I can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe the youth need Tumblr. But it's like genuinely hard to overstate how popular this fic was and honestly still is. Literal actors who had been fan casted for like what these characters would look like or who would play them in like an imaginary movie or whatever knew about it. Andrew Garfield knows about All the Young Dudes. Just think about that for a minute. Poor Spider-Man. All the Young Dudes is also pretty canon compliant. It follows the landmark events of the main Harry Potter story as written by Joanne Cano middle name Rowling. In an AMA from a Discord server, Miss King Bean 89 wrote, "I used a few tricks to keep myself on track with ATYD, All the Young Dudes. Mostly using the years at Hogwarts as markers, creating chronological bullet lists of events that needed to happen in each year, both canon and my own invention, and just building on that as I went. And while I personally don't think the Hermione books filed off the serial numbers particularly well, that means like changing names and events and magic systems to have some semblance of like, oh yeah, this was maybe my original work, except they won't shut up in marketing about how it used to be Harry Potter fanfiction. Oh my. Yeah, I don't think the Hermione books really filed off the serial numbers particularly well, but they were based in like a hypothetical future where the Death Eaters, who are the bad guys, won the Wizarding War. And the thing about All the Young Dudes is it did lovingly engage in canon timelines, not alternate futures, for better or for worse. People were literally recommending it to read instead of Harry Potter. Like I said, it's hard to overstate how popular this fic is, and it's even harder to overstate how based in the Harry Potter universe it is. And like that's a sign of good fan fiction, right? You want your fan fiction, if it's like set in the universe of whatever story you're writing, you want it to feel like it comes from that universe. And people were like paying this compliment of like, it almost feels like it's coming from like a better version of the Harry Potter universe, kind of what it could have been if Joanne, co-was in the files, Rowling was actually a good writer. Still had house elves in it though, so that's all arguable. But yeah, a really big question that people have right now, considering that this book is so based in Harry Potter canon, is how are they going to rewrite it? Okay, let's get into why people are upset. There's a few reasons. Firstly, it appears that Miss King Bean 89 and her publishers are gearing up to use the fact that The Wolf Boy used to be Harry Potter fanfiction as a marketing tactic. And there are a bunch of new Harry Potter projects coming out soon. There's the TV show, there's the audiobooks. I think also I read somewhere that another like video game is coming out. And marketing your books as former Harry Potter fic keeps Joanne Kaluuser Rowling relevant. And Joanne cannot write. Rowling is a transphobe who uses any money she makes from Harry Potter revenue to fund her anti-trans activism in the UK. And like, as a trans person, right, we have it real bad in the US right now. We don't have it great. But I think a lot of us, especially if you're in blue states and blue areas and blue states, like I'm from the Bay Area in California, I don't think we can even, like a lot of us, we can't even conceptualize how bad it is legally for trans people, not even just culturally, but legally for trans people in all of the UK. And the lobbying that went into these laws and this cultural, I guess, shift towards even more conservatism, JKR funded that, slash is funding it. There's a ContraPoints video on it. That's where your Harry Potter money goes, guys. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a little tchotchke, it's not that much money. Shut up. but anyways, Miss King Bean being from and I think still living in the UK obviously makes this all worse because you are living in that. You're living in that, you're still making this choice to keep her relevant, to keep her a household name. And by like keeping her relevant, I mean people buying the books or paying to watch the movies to understand the source material, people getting all nostalgic and buying official merch or paying for new media because it doesn't support her that much financially. Or also, you know, as I kind of alluded to, keeping her a household name so she can keep using her influence for literal evil. Also, people think that publishers and authors are paying her some sort of like licensing fee to be able to use the fact that their book used to be Harry Potter fanfiction as marketing. I think that's possible. I think it's probably more likely that she's not taking legal action because it's free positive publicity, but you know, if we find out in like 6 months that that's the case, I wouldn't be particularly surprised. Another issue is that this further feeds the beast that is agents trawling popular fics and contacting their authors with tradpub traditional publishing deals. There are some like sub-issues here. One is that aspiring authors might start publishing kind of crappy fic designed to appeal to these agents, which like that would be kind of annoying, to be honest. But another more serious issue is that publishers are eventually going to get tired of Hermione and Harry Potter fan spaces as a whole. Like, this started with Rey x Kylo Ren fanfiction, like The Love Hypothesis. Where's my copy of that horrible book? It started with The Love Hypothesis and then other Rey x Kylo Ren from Star Wars fanfiction. Julie Soto, who wrote Rose in Chains, which is just... I don't know how that book got past sensitivity readers, has 2 published Reylo books. And while I don't think Joanne cannot think of another insult strong enough right now, Rowling will sue. The author for the next fandom these publishers move on to might. Anne Rice, who wrote Interview with the Vampire, notoriously tried to sue fanfic authors who wrote fic about her gay vampires. Should have made them less gay. She tried to sue people that were writing fan fiction of Interview with the Vampire. And these people who are writing Interview with the Vampire fic weren't like doing the Hermione thing of changing some names and then publishing their work as like a real book. They were just writing fan fiction. They were just writing Lestat and Louis kissed on the mouth and then had sex, which is also just in the book. Like, I don't know why she was so bad, bro. This was just such a big cultural moment for people in fandom spaces who are writing fan fiction of like, oh, fan fiction exists in this really gray area, legally speaking. And part of what protects it is that fanfic authors aren't meant to make any money off of their stories. But like, hypothetically, this would never happen. I have a backbone. If a publisher gave me a deal to publish the shitty Be More Chill fanfic I wrote in middle school, and I sort of rewrote it a little bit, I renamed the squip to like Pip or something, and then told everyone it used to be More Chill fanfiction I wrote in middle school, so then it sells like a bajillion copies, and I'm super rich and I get a movie deal now. I'm using somebody else's intellectual property to turn a profit, potentially millions of dollars. Like, Alchemist got an even bigger publishing deal than The Wolf Boy did, and it also already has like a movie being made. But anyways, whoever wrote Be More Chill could be like, hey, you are using my intellectual property to make money by using it as a marketing tactic for your book that used to be More Chill fanfiction. I'm going to sue you. So then that could have implications for authors who want to pull an Anne Rice about normal run-of-the-mill fanfiction posted on Archive of Our Own. Like, genuinely, the worst case scenario is that fanfiction sharing platforms like AO3 get shut down. I don't think that's gonna happen due to all the young dudes and Hermione books. Like I said, they give Little Miss Transphobe positive press that I really don't think she would be getting otherwise. But worst case scenario, it might happen with the next fandom publishers move on to. I don't necessarily think it will, but the fact that this possibility is really here is really annoying. The last big reason I want to touch on is the one that I actually find most personal. It feels like a betrayal. Julie Soto said in an interview that fanfiction allows fic readers and writers to reclaim the story, specifically referring to Harry Potter. And I'm not even gonna get into like if the story is worth reclaiming here, because I also have really complicated feelings about that. And I also think that like going on to trad publish your fic and make money off of its status of being formerly fanfiction and give Joanne free press negates any like reclamation points that you were trying to do. The other thing is though, I don't actually think all fanfiction is reclamation. Like Manacled, for example, which then became Alchemized, and I read both of those because I hate myself, really leaned into a lot of the ableism already present in Harry Potter. In the Harry Potter books, most injuries can be healed with magic, so having a permanent disability is seen as particularly tragic. There's lots of great videos about that. This was sort of fixed and alchemized. I'm praying for whatever sensitivity reader had to read and edit that. But both Senlin Yu and Julie Soto are really weird about how they write visible scarring. And I'm still trying to figure out, like, straight fanfiction, do you guys not have the, like, and then he kissed my scars thing happening? But yeah, to be petty, like, I keloid, so that's something that just kind of pisses me off. Anyways, when we're talking about how disability is represented in All the Young Dudes, I think there actually is some reclamation. Ramus has chronic pain in his leg where he was bitten by the werewolf that can't be healed, and it affects his everyday life. But at the same time, it's not treated as horrifically tragic. I read All the Young Dudes my freshman year of college, and it absolutely played a role in my accepting my own disability and my own limitations and my own chronic pain, and I know that's the case for other people that I am friends with. It also, in my opinion, really tried to realistically portray queerness in that 70s, 80s era, which made moments when Ramus and Sirius were accepted all the more sweet. And Joanne Kaloki can't write Rowling kind of sucks at writing queerness, so that was actually really cool to read as well. And this is wild. You guys, this is about to get wild, but trans people were part of the LGBT plus community. And actually, POC trans women are why we have rights, at least in the US. So to write a fic that actually does reclaim the books in some ways and then turn around and fuck trans people over kind of really sucks. And finally, these publishers. They'll burrow into fan fiction communities like evil little termites and offer 7-figure publishing deals to these authors, but won't give queer people writing original queer stories, and in particular trans authors of color writing stories about trans people of color, the time of day. Fucking sure. I want to leave you guys with a quote from that Garbage Day interview with Miss King Bean 89. When asked if she'd consider publishing All the Young Dudes as original work, she responded, "I hear that a lot. It actually came up at work recently because I told a colleague about it and she mentioned it to my manager. And his first question was, oh, do you get any revenue from that? And I was like, well, no, them's the breaks. There's nothing you can actually do. You can't make money off of fan fiction. I always understood that it's somebody else's property. They are someone else's characters. I didn't invent Remus. I invented a version of him for my own purposes. And he is what he is. But I think that doesn't mean it's not good. 50 Shades of Grey did a couple of things for fanfiction. A lot of people hadn't heard of it before. So, just talking about fanfiction became a thing. I still sort of just want to be private. As I said at the beginning, it's a hobby. I think it's important that I have something in my life that I'm not trying to sell and that I'm not able to make money off of in that way. It would be really wonderful to be a published author, to have written something original that people feel as strongly about as they do all the young dudes, but I'm at the point now where I'm okay with that not happening as well. Because although I have original ideas and I write original things, it's much harder to get published from fanfiction. Bro, I miss when that was the case. Also, as a final side note, right? This is just off the top of my head. I didn't write this bit out. But there's an original character in All the Young Dudes called Grant. And fans of All the Young Dudes were super into Grant. And she wrote him his own, little epilogue story where he also got to live happily ever after. Girl, why wouldn't you just leverage all of that to publish your original shit about your original character, Grant, who's not a wizard? Anyways, that's that on that for now. Hopefully I'll have this out later today as of filming. I gotta drive somewhere before rush hour traffic though. But yeah, this is not as put together as my usual videos. Usually I got little chapter markers and intros and outros and shit. So if you want to see that, look at my other videos, comment, and subscribe perhaps, please. I love when I get comments because I love it. One thing about me, I love to talk. I love to talk, so I love it when other people talk at me and then I can talk back at them on the internet. I also have a whole video about Rose in Chains where I compare it to Alchemized as well, and I'm actually high-key really proud of that. So if you want to hear what I have to say about how I think the book is ableist, racist, and homophobic, I just don't understand how a book by a white person that's a master slave romance that is clearly inspired by American chattel slavery got published. Okay, anyways, yeah, that's all. Yeah, probably I'll end up reading The Wolf Boy or whatever it's called at some point. But I'll get a used copy because Miss King Bean, you're not getting any of my money. But yeah, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.